Hey everybody, it is a Thirsty Thursday edition of Staying Super with SimplySuperDave. How are y'all doing this Thursday? I hope you are all doing pretty damn well. I hope you're staying super. With all the crazy shit going on in the world with UFOs and balloons and the chance of World War III and I don't know, just all kinds of crazy stuff is happening. And that made old Dave start thinking a bit. Because somehow our lives are already difficult to deal with because we all have our personal dramas and things that happen, okay? Sometimes it spills out into the public and it's just crazy enough just in a locale, inside your bubble kind of way. So when you add the craziness of the outside world and the things that are going on and the stuff you're hearing on the news today, when you thought as a kid you would never in a million years hear the stuff that you hear today on the news. And I'm talking about you Gen Xers out there, people like me, you know, rocking near 50, moseying through your 40s, maybe trending in your late 30s. I doubt that. I'm not sure. I think somewhere in the middle of the 30s it becomes millennial. But we have, seriously, I watched a great documentary, and it just really reminded me. And then I watched the Woodstock documentaries, the one from '94, which was an amazing show, kind of the middle of what the dream should be and what the dream could be. And then Woodstock '99 or 2000, but I think it's '99 because they had to do it again, you know, and just had to wear the shit out of it. But by then it was so corporate. And the music has become so expressionate because that generation in music broke the barrier, made the explicit language. You know, they involved real feelings without it having to be written as poetic for you to figure out. Again, music has really gotten a lot more simple. For me, it's a lot about the beats, not about what's being said sometimes, but some songs combine the two, and those are the epic ones we all remember and associate so much with. Sorry about that, folks. The phone call came through, but that's not breaking Dave's thought today. No ho way. Hey. We are definitely going to talk about those topics we started off with, but let's get back to Woodstock 99. We ain't leaving off right there. Hell no, I'm focused today on some stuff. And today, I want to bring up how corporate agenda and how that is pretty much the root of what pressures you're dealing with and how the plan is all coming together. Woodstock 99 is the perfect example because at that point, they took away nature, put it on an airstrip, concrete. Everything was like so expensive. People were broke, starving. They were burning up to death. And by the end of that little weekend, people lost their shit. And they tore it all down. I remember watching Limp Bizkit perform and Fred Durst being on a piece of plywood, crowd surfing and singing, yelling the song, Give Me Something to Break. Yeah. Anyway, that's the song. I'm a bad singer. I'm not going to do that to you folks, but break stuff. And they did. It is probably one of the best documentaries you'll ever watch. It's called Trainwreck, I think. There's like a couple of them. I suggest you watch them. The same promoter put on all three Woodstocks, and it was like watching someone that was a genius become a corporate sellout and paid the price. I love Woodstock 94, by the way. It was a classic mudfest and was the perfect blend between corporate America and peace, love, and free will. You know, whatever the fuck that was before me, okay? That was the 60s. That wasn't me. I'm a mid-70s child. I grew up walking into a theater, a dark theater, you know, because theaters back in the day weren't monopolized yet. So when you went to a theater, it was kind of like this place in town, and you felt like you walked into a tunnel. And I remember the doors opening, and there was an X-Wing fighter flying across the screen in outer space. And I remember how that branded me. That open world of color on a screen, and it's fantasy. It's the stuff you imagine because you read comic books. I was like 4 or 5. I can't remember. No, 4. And because movies played for like a year straight. I don't know how long Star Wars stayed in the theater, but it stayed in a long time. Smoking the Bandit was the second highest grossing film that year, 1977, by the way. Anyway, so the 70s, I saw kind of the beginning of the monopolization of peace, love, and free will, and people coming together, and they're going to make it happen right now. And they did. And the baby boomers really took it all over. And the Generation X is only from 1961 to 1981. So 60 to 80. There you go. 20 years. While the two opposing bookends are pretty large. And then I'm talking about you millennials. You are the future of this country, by the way, if you are one listening. And I have all the faith and hope that you will do everything right. Unlike the boomers, I'm not going to criticize you and tell you can't do it. I'm betting my life that you can. And let's get back to that corporate takeover of things, because it has led us to this point where we owe China so much money. That's why we are bitches to them when they do things to us. Just saying, that's why a balloon flew over our country and we were afraid to shoot it down. Forget about the idea that what could be in the balloon could be another infectious disease. Just saying. But it could have had, nothing to do with that. It was the fact that we didn't want to disrespect them. So the things we're shooting down in Alaska are UFOs, huh? Oddly enough, we are so desensitized by everything they have shoved our way since Star Wars that we believe in anything that comes our way. No shock to the system. UFOs, absolutely. That makes absolute sense. You know what I'm saying? It's how they have already broken us. Sorry, another phone call. I got on some kind of spam list because I was an idiot, thinking I was filling out for a job search engine, and then it took me to another one. And then by the third one, I was like, wait a minute, why am I and then I looked at I went back and it was different little websites. And I was like, I hate that. Tricky. Taking advantage of the job market like that, trying to just get crap like that. And those poor people on the other end of the line, they know they're doing a shitty job, but that's a job, right? And they're working from home. All they got to do is convince you to, sign up for the premium package. I don't know. It's all bullshit. And part of this very system I'm about to talk about, how the corporization, that's a good word, monopolization of our free will and our open-mindedness. The internet was supposed to be a way for us to discover truth and facts and discovery about the world, like the fact that Atlantis could be found and it's on a continent. And really, could you imagine the stories of Atlantis? Obviously, it must have existed. Plato wrote about it. Okay, all of a sudden it was gone. Okay, and now, thousands of years later or whatever it is, here we are finding, we're digging a lot. We're finding ancient civilization, pyramids all around the planet, not just in Egypt, larger ones in South America. When you really dig into some actual, old school science, like archaeology, you find out that we've already progressed past where we should be today already. But we're doing it differently. And we're doing it because industrialization. One of the things that changed our whole planet is when oil was discovered. And this is in the early 19th century or 10 or something. It's, the beginning of the 20th century. So it seems like every century there's something that changes over. Have you noticed that? That at one point in time, I don't know what it was before that, but if you look at the early 1910s, you're looking at oil discovery, how it's used as a lubricant. Then they figured out it can use it as fuel. And then they figured out, really think about cooking oils, plastics. The oil is involved in every aspect of our lives. You are literally surrounded by it. It's in your paint that's on your walls. It's just amazingly, it's in your hand. It is part of the thing, So what mineral have we gotten to now? Okay, there is two different minerals, they say now, in the beginning of this 20th century, 21st century, whatever, 21st century. Okay, there we go. Cobalt would be the actual mineral, in my opinion. And then you have data, whatever you want to call it. Potato. That is now an intangible but very realistic money source now. Your data, your personal information, your interest, your likes. The more you share about yourself, the more valuable you are. And that is where they have totally, corporately taken over our very lives. To the point where the outside world is a big deal now, because look what we can do. We can feed them this information, they go this way. We feed them this information, they go that way. Are there UFOs, and why did it take so long to get here? Okay, because obviously this is credify every other story we've heard before that you had desensitized us with movies like Independence Day. The government has overstepped its lines in our country and has used the Industrial Revolution because everyone wanted to make everybody think that oil was scarce, that, we could run out one day. You are literally surrounded by it. The fear of thinking something's going to run out, so I must pay more for it, has been used on us for a very, very long time. It is senseless and stupid, and it's based on companies that have literally lived off the slavery that we have chosen for ourselves. The idea that we must have jobs that obtain a certain amount of money, not the purpose of the job. Some as kids, you have dreams of what you wanted to be at some point in day. Whether it be something that's, forget the money value. What did you want to be? If I could have picked a corporate job to be, I would have wanted to work at a video store my whole life, okay? That's it, because I think that's what I would have been good at, okay? I love movies, I love people, and telling them, hey, what are you in the mood for? Hey, I got to recommend, and challenging myself not to give the same movie out. Because back in the day, there was only one copy in the middle of the horror section, so when you hand that one out, when someone asks the next question, well, this one would be what I say, but if I had to go with the second, blah, blah, blah. That's how I roll. But if I was able to be anything I've ever wanted to be, I would have wanted to be an artist. But I live in the corporate world. People aren't set out to do what they want. They choose the thing that will obtain them the most amount of money they can get. What is of value? That dictates how much money you got. In this next year, the digital transition of taking over the banking system is going to change the way we look at money. Whether you want to be a part of it or not, it is the way of the way. And digital banking is going to take over in the next couple of years, to the point where cash money will be like baseball cards. They'll be collector's items and things that people would pay high dollar to have. So hang on to those $2 bills, y'all, that you had since your grandmother gave it to you when you were a kid. Like I said, Gen Xers know, and I think that's a generational thing anyway. I can't get over the fact that we're on the verge of a third world war. But it's not going to be like the ones in Saving Private Ryan and things that we've been desensitized on before. It's going to be I don't know. It's going to be a mixture. It's not going to be a complete digital war. But half the battle is virtual. And we are living in the future. Each and every one of us. We are at a transition period where we're still making the same stupid mistakes. But we don't even know it. But the potential, this is where I have hopes and dreams for you millennials, is to see past all the bullshit and the misdirection. Things you shouldn't really be arguing about because who cares? But they make you feel like it matters. We have to take incredibly hard steps to achieve equality in this country. But what makes us able to do that was the way our country was established, with people first, government second. The government's convinced you they're first. They tell you what to think and what to argue about. Some people want to grow up to fight for these things and dedicate their lives to these things. But we live in a time where you see these movements happen and they put out, hey, this is what we believe in, follow us. And it's usually something you're like, sure, I'll support that because they deserve equality. It's all about equality. But when you go to a rally or whatever and everybody's there because they're getting paid to be there, you're being paid to say this. There's money in it for you. Whatever. Then you don't truly believe in that cause, and I lose respect for you because I feel like you're degrading the very thing that they're all standing up for, and it takes away from something. We have gotten to that point where we are mind-fucking each other on such a daily basis. It's not even funny. The fact that kids discuss anything about sexual anything, education, before a freshman in high school, or when they go through puberty on their own, that shit shouldn't even be brought up to a child, and much less ever brought up in a classroom. And as an adult, the easy answer because a kid is going to ask some awkward questions at some point, and they don't even know it. That's the innocence of a child. You know that they ain't supposed to do. They're just reacting. They haven't gotten to that thoughtful phase yet, right? So when a kid inquires about your sexuality or what you do private at home, you always tell them, that is not something I can discuss with you. You're not old enough to understand. That's what I was always told. What was the best one of all? I think you're too young for that. Or the honest ones would always go, that's something that you need to talk to your mom and dad about. It's inappropriate to talk to strangers. Don't ask that question. And make them understand that. That's your opportunity to go ahead and give them like a heads up. Don't talk about that. Ask mom and dad, though. Don't be quiet about it. Just ask somebody you trust. You know what trust is, right, kid? That should be the first thing you always teach a child. I think a child has natural need for trust, but when that person isn't there to direct them and that they're left figuring out on their own, Gen X, then you cling on to people, just strangers, and you idolize them a little bit. You know, it's amazing to me. It really is. How strong and beautiful people really are. Because if you ever just open a door for somebody, you really know right off the bat if they're a good person or not, just by their response or their reaction to the good gesture you would do for someone. And I generally, if I see any human being go into the door and I'm coming to the door, I will open the door. I could care less if it was a big, burly 300-pound biker or if it was a little 95-pound old lady. I will get the door. Because that's just how I roll. Even when I'm angry, it's like I force myself to because it makes me feel good. It's a little dose of nice. It ain't much, but it's just a little sprinkle, you know? And it reminds me that all this other shit that we see on TV, the UFOs, the spy balloons, World War III, and all that neat, fun shit, doesn't really matter because in that little small moment, you're happy. You feel good. You did something for somebody else. You didn't owe it to them or anything. It was just a spontaneous bit of niceness in the middle of a really horrific, shitty day. And that is how I stay super. And I try to forget all that crap. And so when I get in my car and drive home, I throw in a little Limp Biscuit. Ooh, just give me something to break. And by the time you get done yelling with Fred, you feel a little bit better. Folks, don't be offended by the world. But at the same time, world, be a little bit more respectful and keep your business to yourself. Your data is very important. Be careful what you share. Don't be just another piece of the money machine. Be who you want to be. Forget about all that money. Because when you... I used to be able to say, if you just went and did exactly what you wanted to do with your life, money will come on its own. I believed in that whole work hard, it pays off thing. And I want to preach that to you, but I'm a little bitter about that. And we'll do another episode probably. But anyway, either way, I just hope your Thirsty Thursday goes very well. And next time you are having a hard time and you just need to stay super, open a door for somebody. It's a passing moment with a little feel-good of bliss. Remember, love and laughter conquers hate and fear. Go be a conqueror. Don't be a victim.